Hi, and welcome to the Running on Carbs podcast. I am your host and your coach, Coach Val, and I would like to welcome you to episode number 27 of the podcast. Today, we are going to talk all about vegan friendly gels. So, energy gels that you can use on your runs and any endurance activities. If you like to hike, these can be used for that too. But of course, here we talk a lot about running. So we are going to talk about how to use these gels on runs. What are gels? And I'm going to share with you my takeaways from 9 different gels that I tested out and tried. And I'm just going to give you my honest opinion and thoughts on each one of those. So this is kind of a follow along episode. There is a handout if you'd like to download it. And you can get that by just going to the show notes. There is a link there in the show notes that you can click and download the grid that I put together with all of the nutrition facts on these different 9 gels that I tested out, and the cost for each one of them also, and it's all free. So just go to the show notes and download the handout. So you've got that. You can either follow along with the episode or download it when it's done, and then maybe come back to the episode if you want to hear again my thoughts and reviews on each one of them once you can kind of take a look at all of the nutrition values. I thought this would get to be a very long and probably boring episode if I went through all of the nutrition value for each one of them. So I thought a handout might be a little easier and more useful to you because you can take it away and do your own comparisons also. So there you are. There we have it. You can use that as you see fit. So, gels, runners, let's talk a little bit about gels themselves. So, why do we use gels as runners? Primarily, they are used because they provide a quick, easily digestible source of carbohydrates and energy when you're on the go. Once your stores are used up, in your body, then the body begins to use fat as energy. And although that sounds like a positive thing and a good thing, it's actually less efficient energy source for the body, and it metabolizes much slower than carbohydrates do. And so your body has to work harder to metabolize the fat rather than working more efficiently, metabolizing carbohydrates for that immediate quick energy. So, runners, we need energy right now. We can't wait for our bodies to metabolize fat, and it again, it's not what it sounds like. It's not like, oh, I'm losing fat. Not the same thing. So anyway, we want to stick to carbohydrates for our energy source for running and endurance activities. So, what is the science behind the gels? Your body burns sugar a lot faster than fat, like we were just talking. So, when your sugar reserves are low and your body has to burn fat to keep you moving, that's going to slow you down because, again, your body is now kicking in more systems to burn that fat. Worst case scenario, glycogen stores can get so low that the brain starts shutting down the body, so the rest of the body, to preserve the energy for its own functioning. Because, of course, the brain is like, I need to function or we die. So it's going to start shutting down other bodily systems. And you experience what is often referred to as bonking or hitting the wall. Same thing. The body's energy, I'm sorry, the brain's energy use is actually relatively low. Um, Not low, sorry. Let me back up. The brain, I'm getting the body and the brain all mixed up. So the brain's energy use is relatively consistent, even when you're running or if you're at rest. So the brain uses about 20% of the body's energy, even though it really only makes up about 2% of the overall body weight. So there's a big difference there. And I love this stat that I found. It's actually about zero point 0.3 kilowatt hours per day to run your brain, which is more than 100 times the amount of energy that a typical smartphone uses in a whole day. So, the brain is a power hungry machine, and it takes about 320 calories per day just to think. Um, I love this fact because it explains so much. Like when you go to the office all day and all you do is sit and work and like sit on a computer and talk to people, um, and then you come home and you're like, I'm absolutely exhausted, but I didn't actually physically do anything all day. Well, you burned a bunch of calories just sitting there thinking all day long at your desk job. So, having a desk job doesn't mean that you are not actually burning calories and using energy. Now, doesn't mean you get to sit at your desk job and call that exercise, but it does mean that you are using energy and there is it's using up your glycogen stores and stuff just thinking. So, if it's timed right, carbohydrate sugars in the gel that you might take continuously replenish that energy that you are losing while you're moving. If it's done properly, this is going to keep you from bonking or hitting the wall. And that is not the same thing as muscular fatigue. So, these are two different things that we're talking about. Bonking can feel like dizziness, shakiness, extreme fatigue, not just muscle fatigue, but like extreme overall bodily fatigue, and something like heavy leg syndrome, where your legs just feel like bricks going through molasses. It's just really hard to move. And at worst case scenario, you can even faint. So bonking, hitting the wall, very extreme, not just tired body, like at the end of a marathon, tired body. They're different feelings because your body is reacting in a different way for each of those things. So gels are a fast energy source because they're primarily made with carbohydrates. They are made with simple carbohydrates, typically made with maltodextrin, which is a highly digestible carbohydrate that's made up like of rice, corn, or potato starch. So it's natural in that sense, made with those starches. Glucose and fructose are also used, and those are quickly absorbed into the bloodstream. And during long endurance activities that are like an hour or an hour and a half, the body's glycogen stores become depleted. So you have about an hour to an hour and a half stored in the body to be able to use up during these long events. But if you go beyond that, you need to replenish. You need to start putting those stores back in the body for immediate use. Um, so that you can maintain your pace and avoid that fatigue and hitting the wall. So, something that you might be thinking is, hey, Coach Val, aren't all gels vegan already? Because the name of this episode is, specifically about plant-based sources for gels, but not necessarily. So, as with so many things, we have to read the labels, right? So, check the label. And I would say that most, but not all, are vegan. Um, but some, they might contain honey or they might contain milk products like a milk protein. A couple of examples that I found. I don't know if I'm saying this one right because I'm not familiar with it. It's called Accel, ACCEL gel. That one, for example, contains milk products. Honey stinger, as the name kind of implies, it has honey. That's one of those that, depending on your plant-based diet, whether or not you consume honey or not. Some honey stinger products, I don't think the gels, but some honey stinger products also contain egg as well. So really keep an eye on that. Those are like the waffles and things that I've noticed. Goo energy gels, including the Roctane energy gel, they're all vegan and gluten-free. And in the past, though, the Roctane ones were not vegan. And so there is still information out there on the internet that pops up when you go searching for that, that says that Roctane is not vegan. But according to the GU website, they have reformulated all of their gels and they are now vegan. So if that's one that you used to use that you haven't used in a long time because they're not vegan, um, you might want to relook at those again as well. However, on the goo, the one product that I did find on goo that is not vegan is their protein recovery drink. That one is not vegan. Now, I know today we're not really talking about all of these recovery products. We're really just focused on gels, but I thought I would mention those because they pop up a lot when you're doing searches on these gels. So always check the labels before you purchase or before you consume them. All right, so let's talk about how I chose the gels that I did for my experiment. So this is my experiment of one, my N of one experimentation. I hope you find it helpful. The gel selection process and what I looked for. So, number one, I just wanted to find gels that I could easily get off the shelf, like at a running store. You can also use a website called thefeed.com. And the feed is really nice because you can order these individual gel packs and try different ones and test them out for yourself without getting, a whole package of 12 and then finding out after the first one that it upsets your stomach or you just can't stand the taste or something like that, or you don't want 12 of the same flavor. So the feed is kind of convenient for that reason, and so is a store, because in a store you can just buy individual gel packs that may not be as inexpensive as if you were to find a whole box, but it's still very convenient and you have more variety. So the ones I chose are readily available and easy to find, and also rather popular. So you might find them on courses. So I wanted to see, which ones you might find on course and test those out. All of the ingredients, of course, were vegan. 100%, that's like number one. Not necessarily all gluten free, don't recall, but they were absolutely vegan. I looked for minimal ingredients that were as natural as possible. Um, I was fairly successful, I think, in that. But I also tried some that had a little bit of preservatives in them too, just because they were so popular. So I wanted to try them out. And there was also a mix of caffeinated and non caffeinated gels that I tested out also. So, how I tested them is depending on how familiar I was already with the gel. Some of these I've taken before, and some of them I hadn't. And it's been a long time since I had used gels because of my injury journey. So, it had been well over a year since I've used any gels. So, they were all new to my current body, the way I am right now. I tested out the ones that I've never used before or that I was a little, hesitant about on very short runs. So 4 miles, maybe 4 to 6 miles, I would test out those types of gels. And then I also tested out gels that I was a little more familiar with on race days. So I had a 10K race in there that I used gels for. And I also tested out long runs, so between 6 and 9 miles. I tested out gels for those that, again, might not be 100% brand new to me, but that I haven't used in a very long time. So that was my testing philosophy and how I did this. So here are the gels that I used, not in any real particular order, just in the order that I put them in for this episode. So, however, the first one on the list is actually the first gel that I tested out. So the first one I tested out was a goo product, and it was the birthday cake flavor. The pros were that the birthday cake flavor is delicious. It tasted like vanilla frosting. So if you have a sweet tooth, that's your gel. It was really tasty, so I enjoyed that one very much. I've never used goo products in my life, so that was the first one I've ever taken. I did test that one out on a shorter run. Um, I think I did that one on a 6-mile run, and I took it at mile 3. Um, it was really sticky. So goos, if you've never used them, and I'm just going to assume on this whole episode that you've never used any of these. So just in case it's one that you haven't used, I'm just going to talk about it as if it's brand new to you. So the texture was sticky, very sticky. But it kind of matched the flavor because, like I said, it tasted like vanilla icing. And so that would be sticky. So it was good. It was like a little dessert. It sat very well in my stomach, though. It did not give me any stomach upset. It didn't give me that um, like uh, mouth feel of like ickiness or anything. It was great. I didn't have any issues with my gut following the run or during the run. And I would say on the second half of my run, I had really good energy. Even though the temperature that day was starting to really rise and go up as I was running, I still felt like I maintained my energy levels. So I really liked it. The cons for goo that I have in general is that for me personally, I consider their products to be rather processed. Not a lot of natural ingredients in that. Whereas some of these products that I'm going to talk about are like completely natural ingredients, whole foods, if you will. So this one was definitely more processed than I'm accustomed to. And it's really why I've stayed away from goo up until now. But because they are found on so many race courses, I really wanted to test it out during this training session to see how it worked in my body. My takeaways from this one is that I probably wouldn't use it on a regular basis just because of the ingredient list mainly. But it really accomplished my goal, which was to know how did I do on this gel and does my body, work with it? So it's good to know that if it's ever on course sometime that I could safely take it if I wanted to or needed to. I will say that I might grab a couple of these birthday cake flavors just to have around for runs as a special like run treat in the middle of my run because the flavor was really good. And that might be a nice little, pick me up treat on a long run or something. Um, so I definitely like that. The next one that I tried was not the next one in order. I actually just used this one fairly recently. It was also a goo product, but it's a little different. So this is salted watermelon. The salted watermelon flavor was caffeinated, which was the biggest difference between the birthday cake and this one. Again, same sticky texture, but it did go down well. The packaging is very easy to work with, so it opened easily. I didn't have to mess with it a lot. I was able to get the product out very easily, which is really good when you are taking a gel while continuing to run. Some people stop and take their gel. I like to run while I'm taking it. So for those who like to stay on the move and keep going while they're fueling, the packaging was easy to work with. And it had a really good taste. It wasn't as good as the birthday cake, but it was still very good. And again, my stomach tolerated it just fine. And again, this one was a little bit different because it had caffeine. And so sometimes that addition of caffeine is a little questionable about whether or not your body's going to tolerate it. I used it as the first of 2 gels on a longer run, and I took it at mile 4, and I think I was doing 9 miles, so I took it at mile 4, and, it was not a warm day that day, but it was a harder run. There were, like, a lot of rolling terrain, and so I felt like my energy level really stayed up, and got me to the next, gel 3 miles later. So it was good, but again, lots of processed ingredients. I will say though that goo was the least expensive gel that I used during all of these testing. Goo clocks in at about $1.60 per packet. and other ones just keep going up from there. So this was the least expensive individual pack gel that I tried. So if, budget's concerned, because when you're using gels, it's not just the race day that you have to consider for your gels, but it's all of your training runs up till you get to the race day and then race day. So that's something to keep in mind, is that every run is going to cost you money in some way. And so you want to keep that in mind if it's something that is a consideration for you. Um, all right. So the next one that I used is by Hammer Gel. And this is a brand I have never used before. So I used it on a shorter run because I was really unfamiliar with it. I had actually never even heard of the brand, although I understand they've been around a long time, I think. I tried the one that I saw online that had very high reviews and said that it was a really great flavor. So I tried Montana Huckleberry. That one seemed to have the most popularity. So I tried that one. The pros are that it sat well in my stomach, so no tummy issues. I took it at a 3-mile mark of a 4-mile run. So toward the end of the run, just to test it out. This was one that I did kind of closer to home, just in case, as I've always talked about. If you're going to try out brand new things, try on shorter runs close to home, just in case there's any issues. The cons for this gel is that the texture was like gooey cornstarch, and there's no cornstarch in this product. So I don't know what that texture was that I was getting, but it was not pleasant. It was a very small amount of flavor and a lot of cornstarchy texture flavor. Um, and I did not enjoy that. So I have to say that that was the biggest con, is that I really disliked the flavor of this gel entirely. Um, I'm not sure if it was related or not, but I also noticed that my heart rate went up when I used this gel. It was not quite as easy to open. Um, and so when I started my gel, I was in my zone 2, which is an easy pace run. And after I had messed with the packaging, taken the gels, finally got it all out of the package and into my body, um, then my heart rate went up. And I think that was because I was messing with the packaging so much to get all the product out. And then it kind of settled back down. So that's pretty normal for that to happen, temporary. But then my heart rate spiked again. So a few minutes later, I checked my watch and my heart rate's going up and up and up, even though my pace was not increasing. And I was on a pretty normal run for myself. So it wasn't like, big incline or a difficult part of my run. It was a pretty flat part. So I didn't have other outside influences to create a higher increase in my heart rate. But after that, yeah, after I took that gel and it started going back up, I stayed in like my zone 3, just over my zone 2, for the rest of the run. And I'm not exactly sure why. So, and there are several processed ingredients in this product, a lot of preservatives, I thought. Um, and this one also includes some amino acids. Um, I don't know if the heart rate thing was related or not. I would really have to do more testing to know for sure if this gel was the cause of it or if it was something else. But I thought it was notable, so I wanted to mention it here. So if you do try the gel yourself, it's something that you can be aware of. And if that happens to you, maybe there's an ingredient in it that is just not liking our bodies. So be aware of it if you're going to use that gel. And they do have other flavors, one of which is peanut butter flavor, and then they also have a peanut butter and chocolate flavor, which I don't recall seeing at the store when I bought this one. But I wouldn't be adverse to trying a different flavor. Maybe if it's peanut butter, that thick cornstarchy thing wouldn't be as bad. Maybe it would be, more customary because peanut butter is usually thick or sticky. So I'm not adverse to trying another flavor. Um, just to see. And also, I want to see if that heart rate thing happens again because I'm just kind of curious. But be aware. And again, it's still not one I would put high on my list to use all the time because I don't like all the preservatives that they have to use in this product. Um, but something to think about and contemplate. All right, so we're going from processed ingredients to the most unprocessed product I tried uh, of all nine, and that is called Untapped, which is maple syrup. So this one was really, really simple ingredients. Um, the Untapped is all of their lines are maple syrup, but they might have a little extra flavoring. So the one I used was the salted mocha. Is that what it's called? Oh, sorry, salted cocoa, not mocha, salted cocoa. And it was really, really good. So that was a pro. The pro was definitely the flavor. It was really good texture. I thought it was going to be thick and sticky. It was not. It was, like, really thin. I don't know if they add water because I don't think you have to say that if you add water, but it was very thin, so it was easy to take down, um, and not sticky. It was real mild sweetness, so it was not like just taking the maple syrup out of the refrigerator and drinking it, because I think that really would have turned me off, and I really wasn't sure what to expect with this one. So it was just a mild sweetness, which was great. It sat very well in my stomach, no issues whatsoever. And I really felt like I had good energy for the second half of my run. I took this one at mile 4 of the run that I was doing. The cons for this one is not the actual product itself, the flavor or anything. It was really difficult to get all of the liquid out of the packet. For how thin and watery it was, I couldn't tell when it was empty. I just kept, trying to, like, push more out of the packet, and I kept getting more out of the packet. So I'm like, "Well, gosh, did I finish it? Did I finish the whole thing?" Um, and that actually took a lot of energy to, away from my running. I'm trying to, like, tip my head back and squeeze this product out of this little plastic package. And I just kept having to, try again and again to see if I got it. So, um, I didn't like the packaging at all. And as a matter of fact, after I was done with all of these gel testing, I washed off the packaging, squeezed out any extra from the package if there was any, and rinsed them off. And I put them in a little plastic bag to hold on to the packaging in case I needed them. And every time I would reopen the bag to put a new one in after using this one, my everything was sticky, like there was still maple syrup coming out of this package. So I still was never able to get everything out of it. I really don't like the packaging. Um, Also, I think if I was doing a longer run where I had to take multiple gels, I would tire of the sweetness of the syrup flavor. Uh, it's the same syrup flavor, for all of them. So that might get a little tiresome. It's also low in sodium, so you would need to supplement with additional salt tabs or something, or some electrolytes, maybe in your water bladder or something, or your water bottle when taking this because it was very low in sodium. The takeaways, though, for this product is it really had the highest carb count of all of the gels that I tried. The carb count for this one was 26 grams, so that's pretty high for a single pack gel. Um, the I would probably use it maybe in the rotation as one to use for a different flavor during a race. Um, but again, that packaging thing, so I definitely try to find a way to be able to throw away the package, once I use it, so it doesn't, like, continue to just drip and come out of the package in my pocket or something. So I would take it, and then I would just throw away the packaging as soon as possible. Um, I don't wanna get all syrupy, sticky at a marathon. That just sounds really uncomfortable. All right. So that is Untapped. The next one I tried was Huma Plus, and Huma Plus has electrolytes. So the plus is plus electrolytes. The flavor that I tried was lemons and limes. And the pros of this one is that the flavor was really great. I liked the flavor. The package is super easy to open and to get all of the gel out, unlike the last one. The electrolytes really helped me because I took this one on a very, very hot 10K. I mean, it was in the 90s and up in like I think it was like 80% humidity, 90 degrees, really hot run. And this gel, I think, really saved me because I took it at the 3 and a quarter mark, 3 miles, 3 and a quarter miles. Um, and that's about when the temperatures were really the highest. And I was running back. It was an out and back race. And I was coming back toward the finish line, just turned around, and the sun was just directly in my face. And so having that extra boost of electrolytes and the gel at that point really, really helped me. I have taken this gel previously, a couple of years ago, and I took it for the first time. I made a rookie mistake. I've taken Huma gels plenty of times, but I had never taken Huma Plus before. But I bought one and I took it at the start of a 5K. And this was a 5K that I was racing hard. It was not just a leisurely 5K. And I took it before the race started, and I had lots of stomach upset during that race, like cramping, just discomfort altogether. Not a very comfortable race at about, I'd say, probably about the mile and a quarter mark, which is far too early in a 5K to be having issues. So I had never taken it again since then, because it had upset my stomach. But I thought I would try it again. So I'm glad I did, though, because I think in the right setting, this is a very good gel. And I know a lot of people tolerate it very well. It could just be me. Um, you do need to use it with caution, though, under the right pacing and conditions. Um, Also, if you already use electrolytes in your water bottle or your bladder, you may not need this because you're already getting those electrolytes somewhere else. So it's part of your overall fueling strategy and plan. You don't want to overdo electrolytes either. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Um, okay, so the next one which by the way, on that one, my takeaways is that I think I would use this one again if given the right conditions, like that hot race, for example, or if I was not going to be using electrolytes, I might consider that one also. But for the most part, I don't think I personally need it because I do typically bring electrolytes in a liquid form. And so I don't think I need extras in my gel. So the next one, gel, is just Huma gel, pure Huma chia gel. Huma Chia, the claim to fame is that it uses all natural products and is based on chia seeds. And chia seeds are known throughout, ancient civilizations for giving energy. So they're an energy source, and it's just a little seed. They're these little black seeds, but in the case of these gels, they're all ground up, so you don't get those little black seeds in your teeth. So you don't have to worry about that. But they still give you that long lasting natural energy. So I tried the cafe mocha for my Huma Chia gel. The pros is that, I mean, again, it's like a big dessert, or I guess it's a little dessert. It's a little dessert, but it's a little special dessert reward as you're running. So fantastic taste, great texture. I like that it's just like a little special treat. I took this one before my 10K that I was just talking about. So I did Huma purely for that 10K. This one I took about 20 minutes before the race. I had had breakfast pretty early that day, so I thought with such a short run, um, but yet not a very short run, I wanted to have a little boost just before. Plus, because of the heat, anything I could do to give myself a little extra edge, I was going to try. So I took this one about 20 minutes before the race. It was really just the right amount of energy and boost that I needed for that run to kind of get me going through the first half. Easy to open package, no problem to consume the whole gel. And when I put it in my pocket, it doesn't leak, it doesn't get all over the place, so it's not a mess. The con is that the flavor is really sweet. So I think, pretty much all of the Huma gels have a sweetness to them. There is a lemon one that is a little less sweet, but it's still sweet undertones. Um, they can get tiresome. So the constant sweet taste when you are doing a long run, like a half marathon, where you're consuming a lot of gels, the sweetness can really give you fatigue, um, taste bud fatigue. So that's something to be aware of. The takeaways on this one is that it gives you consistent energy and that didn't upset my stomach. So it's a really easy go-to gel for pretty much any purpose. All right, the next one that I tried is the Muir Energy. And I discovered Muir Energy gels, and the flavor that I took was the red raspberry mate. So the mate means that this one was caffeinated. The, um, the pros for this one is that it's got a thick texture, and I call that a pro because if you are hungry during a race, this one can be very satiating for that. This particular gel, this flavor, had a very high caffeine content for a nice boost. It had the highest caffeine content of all of the gels that I tested at 90 milligrams. Most of the other gels, they come in anywhere between 20 to 25, 50 grams, I'm sorry, milligrams of caffeine. So this was 90. That's quite a bit of caffeine. That may be upsetting to some people's stomachs. I did not have an issue with it, so it was fine for me. Um, the cons is that so the pro is that it has a nice thick texture if you're hungry, but the con is that it's kind of grainy. So it's got kind of a grainy texture to it, which I'm guessing are the raspberry seeds. Um, and so it's just something to be aware of. The takeaways on this one is that it has very high quality ingredients. And of course, that high caffeine content, if that's what you're looking for. It's, I think the way that I might use this is that I would use it maybe as a mid to later part of the longer race, partly because it has such a strong flavor. And I think that if you have if you've got that fatigue going, to have a really strong flavor in your mouth helps to just give you a little boost of energy, something your brain just kind of goes, "Whoa, what's that?" And it gives it something else to focus on besides just, "I'm tired. You've been running a long time. When are you going to stop?" So having that flavor kick toward the end of a race or the midway when you're starting to get tired would be a nice boost. So that's a good one. All right. The next one that I tried was Morton's 100. Morton's 100 is a very good gel, very high quality gel. I have used this one before. I usually save them for my longer runs. What I really like about the Morton gel is mild flavor. It's almost flavorless, but not quite. There's a smidge of a sweetness to it, but very minor. It has a kind of weird texture to get used to. I wouldn't go as far as calling it a con, but it is different than most of the gels that I've ever tried. It's, oh god, how do you describe it? kind of gelatin-like, but there's no gelatin in it. Um, I think that's the best way to describe it. It's very easy to take, very easy to work with the packaging and to get everything out, get all the product out of the package, and it's easy on my stomach. The cons is that you do need to take this one with fluids. So it recommends right there on the pocket package that you take it with water. I think that there's a little, I don't know if to call it controversy, but there's differing opinions on whether or not you can or should take it with electrolytes. I personally have always taken it with electrolytes. I don't feel that I have any issue with it, whether there's some scientific molecular thing happening at a cellular level that I'm unaware of, possibly, but it doesn't bother me. And I do like the gel and it does give me energy. So for me, works great. And again, I do take it. It has no sodium. I'm sorry, it has sodium, but it has very little sodium. It has 20 milligrams of sodium, so it's not really very much, especially if you're running or long distance or endurance race. For me, it's like practically nothing. So you do need to supplement your run with some other sodium source or electrolyte source. Um, the takeaway on this one is that it has higher carb count than most of the gels. So this one had 25 grams of carbs, which is pretty high for the gels, and mild flavor, so good on the stomach. Um, and also good that it had such a mild flavor that if you are getting that taste bud fatigue from sweet gels beforehand, this might be a good one to alternate to give your taste buds a break. So maybe you're not quite ready for that mirror energy boost flavor yet. Maybe you just need to give your body and your taste buds a little break. This is a good one for that. It's very popular. It's used by a lot of the pro runners. It is more expensive. So this is the most expensive individual gel that I tried at $3.90 per gel pack if you buy them individually. So they are definitely more expensive than the others, especially considering goo was $1.60. Big difference. It's used by a couple of the Abbott World Marathon Majors. So it's used at the Boston Marathon this last year, 2024, or this year, I guess it's coming up. Um, it's also being used at the Chicago Marathon, and it's also used at the Berlin Marathon. So, little takeaway there if those are any of the marathons that you're aiming for. Um, the next gel that I want to talk about, this is the last gel that I tested, is UCAN Edge. And this one comes with a slight caveat because I have used this one before, and so I tried it again. Um, I used the orange flavor, and it turns out that orange is no longer available. So, had I have known that, I would have grabbed a different one, but I didn't realize that they no longer made orange. Now they have orange mango, and the makeup of the ingredients are slightly different for orange mango versus orange. So, thought I would put in that slight disclaimer. But what I will say is I will just judge the overall gel itself because it wasn't so much all of that I was looking for because those are just minor differences. But as far as like the pros, the flavor itself as a whole was acceptable. Maybe this is why they changed to orange mango. I don't know. So it has a very liquidy texture. So it's different than other gels where other gels are kind of sticky. This one doesn't feel so sticky. It feels almost like a liquid. Um, the cons, though, are that you have to mix it really well because this one does have cornstarch ingredient. I know that Hammer Gel seemed like it did, but it didn't. UCAN actually does have a cornstarch base, and it can settle inside the packaging. So you really gotta, like, if it's been sitting for a while, especially, you really gotta massage it and mix it up in the packaging before you take it, because that would be really unpleasant, I'm sure, if you didn't. So the Although the liquidy texture is easy to swallow, this one kind of upsets my stomach, and I don't know exactly what it is in the ingredient list that bothers me. But I've noticed this previously when I've used this product before too, and I was kind of hoping that by now, maybe it wouldn't, but it was still kind of upsetting to my stomach. I didn't really like it. There are definitely other products that I prefer. I know a lot of people use this one because they feel like they get a very sustained steady state sustained energy, that they don't get the highs and lows from like a sugar crash or something. So I know this is a very popular gel for that. And a lot of people like it very much. I don't know, there's something about it that just doesn't seem to agree with me. Um, so I've tried it a couple times now. I'll probably end up taking this one out of my rotation, just for that reason, when there are other gels that I just tolerate better than this one. But again, for you, it's something to try or just something to try and be aware of. Use it on a short run to test it out. Because again, a lot of people really like this gel and it doesn't do that to them. So try it out. All right, so those are the 9 gels that I tested and tried, but I have a bonus one for you. This is a just a little mini bonus one that I did not use on a run. And I'm giving it to you because we don't always just run. Sometimes we run and then we come back home or go to the gym and we strength train. And you might need something to eat or to reboost your energy in between those workouts. And so that is what this one is. And my bonus gel is Mirror Energy Cacao Almond Mate. And again, this one gets another disclaimer because this is one that I also have used in the past. Love this one. So I did already know about it, but I wanted to share it with you because maybe you didn't know about it. The disclaimer is that although the cacao almond flavor is still available, the mate portion is not. So the mate is caffeine, and so they still have the cacao almond flavor just without the caffeine. Mine that I took was the mate, so I did have caffeine in the one that I took. The pro is that it's really tasty. Um, but you must like almond butter with molasses flavor. It does have blackstrap molasses in it, and some people despise blackstrap molasses. So, if you are one of those, this might not be for you. But if you want something that's kind of thick and filling, but quick energy, this one is for you. It is very filling. It's got 5 grams of protein and it's got 3 grams of fiber. So, again, if you're between workouts, this is a really great option because you don't want a meal. You don't want something in your stomach when you're going to start lifting weights. But if you are starting to lose energy from that run and you're starting to feel depleted or you're getting a little brain fog, this is perfect because sometimes just a little gooey gel is not going to help your stomach feel full, because it doesn't have any fiber in it and it doesn't have that sustained energy with the protein. So that's why I recommend this one for that in between workout option. The con is that it is thick. And so you do not want to probably use this one on a run. Um, I have never tried to run with it, but I cannot imagine trying to run and basically chew my gel. So for me, that wouldn't work. And it requires a lot of liquids to wash it down. So it might be more fluids than you have available with you on your run if you were to try it there. So probably not a good running gel. Um, my takeaways, as you can tell, is I love the flavor. Love it, love it. Um, it's also great, by the way, on hikes. So if you love to hike, this is a really good option to take with you that you can just snack on as you're continuing to go. And as a plant based runner, your gut is more accustomed to fiber. So you can use this to really help you feel a sustained energy without causing GI issues where people who are not quite as accustomed to higher fiber content, who don't eat plant-based diets, may not be comfortable with that much fiber in an energy gel. Um, Again, the mate version was discontinued, but I did double check on the feed website for the individual price for a non-mate version, and it's the same as the red raspberry gel. It's $2.95 per serving for the individual serving packs for that one. So, I mean, they're not inexpensive, but they aren't the most expensive of the ones I tried either. Hydration. Oh, wait, that's my next point I wanted to make. So, those are all of the gels that I tried. Again, the handout is available for download with extra information that I didn't cover here. And I have all the pricing, I have all the nutrient breakdowns of all of these gels there. So, please go and download that. There are a couple other quick takeaways that I wanted to share with you on using gels in general. Number one, hydration is really important. So most of the gels that I tried, they do require you to take in additional fluids when you take the gel. So you want to make sure that you are taking them at water stops if you don't have water with you, or that you're drinking water along with the gel when you take it. If the gel itself does not have any added electrolytes in it, then you're going to want to consume those separately through like a tablet or in your hydration. Some common questions that come up is number one, is it okay to mix brands during a run? So, for instance, can you take a goo and then take a Huma? Can you mix these different brands of gels on your run? And the answer to that is yes, of course you can, as long as you've tried them in your training. So don't just surprise yourself on race day with, oh, I take goo and Huma, all the time on my training runs, but yet you never mix them up. And then all of a sudden on your marathon, you're taking a goo and then a Morton's and then, Huma. So don't surprise your body like that. Test it out, have a strategy. Like I was saying, you can maybe use your Huma fruity flavors for a portion of your race. And then as you realize the miles are ticking up, you want to give your taste buds a break. You take a Morton's to just kind of reset. And then maybe toward the end, you're going to test out having, or not test out during the race, but you're going to use the raspberry mirror energy to give yourself a boost. So have a strategy, practice that strategy in your training runs. And then that way, on race day, if that's a strategy that works for you. The other question that I get is caffeinated or not? Should you use caffeine or should you not? Now, there's a lot of science behind caffeine use in endurance runs, which I am not prepared to get into right now. Um, but in general, caffeine, on one hand, is said to boost your metabolism and can give you a mental lift during the run. While on the other hand, some say that those benefits really don't outweigh like the increased blood pressure that caffeine can cause, possible digestive issues for some people, and that it may make you have to pee. So, if you've got any of those issues, you may want to avoid caffeine gels for your races. But again, try these out, see how they make you feel. If you're generally someone that's taking, or that's drinking 3 cups of coffee a day and you have no caffeine issues, you may be fine. But you always want to try it out, of course, and test it. And maybe it doesn't bother you. But always test it out and try it. But it's kind of good to know, when is a good use for caffeine and when is it? So again, that goes back to your gel strategy for your race. When you're mixing up these different gel flavors and strategizing when and how you'll take your gels, you may want to also consider which ones will be caffeinated and which ones won't. And there's a couple different schools of thought on when to take caffeine and how often, and whether or not once you start, you have to keep it up or not. So all this stuff takes a little testing and review. So when to take your gels? Number one, practice and review. Just practice them in your training runs and contemplate, write it down in a diary, keep notes. Um, some people like to take the gels before they race, like at the beginning, and then others just wait until they're in the race and then they take them. If you are otherwise really well fueled, like with a meal, let's say you have a very early race and you've eaten a meal at home for breakfast, and there's not a lot of time between when you ate and the starting line, you might wait a couple of miles before you actually take your first gel. You might not need to take one before you start. So it kind of depends on meal timing. Another or a rule of thumb with regard to how many carbohydrates and how many gels you might need during a race is a little different. So, again, always testing, but the rule of thumb is anywhere between 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates every hour. And mileage, that's really just going to depend on your pace. So, some people like to go by miles, some people like to go by time for when they take their gels. I typically go by miles because I'm pretty familiar with my pace for most races that I'm doing. Um, and so most gels are somewhere around 25 grams of carbs, give or take. So in that case, if you're taking a gel about 25 grams of carbs, you're going to probably take a gel about every 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on your pacing, just as an average as a starting point to test from. So it's a good rule of thumb, one gel every 30 to 45 minutes. See how you do on your runs and see how you tolerate it. And then kind of go from there as far as like shortening the time frame or extending it, depending on how you feel. Test it out on those shorter runs like I did. So you're going out for a 4-mile run or even a 3-mile run. You can take your gel before you go if you haven't had a meal and try that out and see how it makes you feel. So there's different ways you can try it out and test it. And then, and the last question really is, should I use course provided gels? And the answer here is only if you've tried them in training. Do I sound like a broken record yet? Probably. Nothing new on race day. So if you have tried these gels out and you're familiar with the brand and you know you like it and there's flavors that you're familiar with, then I say go for it. I mean, they're there. What a great savings. You didn't have to buy your gels. But if you haven't, or if there's different flavors, it's kind of hard to grab a gel off of a table as you're running by and study the ingredients. So again, be very familiar with what you can tolerate and what you can't. Um, some races will tell you ahead of time what gels they will have on course. They probably aren't going to tell you the flavors though. So I think if you know which gels they're going to have on course, what brand, you can, find a bunch of different flavors and test them out in training and just solely use those if you plan to use that brand on race day and use the on course fuel. That would be one way to do it. Otherwise, bring your own. Even if the course provides them, I would still say bring your own because it is not unheard of for a race to run out of their product. So to run out of gels or toward the end of the race, maybe they had gels previously, but then now toward the end when you need it the most, they're out or they're out of whatever you need. So always bring at least some, just in case they run out. It's not going to affect your race because you will be prepared. And then, of course, if you have a favorite, bring your own, bring your favorites, and just bring maybe a couple extra just in case the worst happens. It's always good to be prepared. All right. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got a lot out of it. I enjoyed being N of one. I'm going to continue to try other energy gels. There's a couple that I'm kind of looking forward to still trying out. There, you'll see that there's a couple brands that I did not try that I would still like to test out. But I thought these were probably the top ones that I wanted to try, at least initially. Um, so, oh, alarm is telling me, hey, go give that dog his eye drops. um, all right, so don't forget to check out the show notes for the link to the download to all of this information. It's right there, it's free, easy to do. I hope you enjoy it. And of course, connect with me. So, connect with me over on Instagram. I'm at running.on.carbs, and I'd love to connect with you there. And don't forget to leave a review. So if this has helped you and it can help other people that you know, other runners, I would really, truly appreciate a review from you with 4 stars, of course, or 5 stars, or whatever the rating is where you're listening, and a little review for the podcast. It helps us grow and helps us reach a bunch of other plant-based runners just like you and I. So thank you for that ahead of time, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you here for the next episode every Thursday. And in the meantime, run your best life on carbs. I'm Coach Val. I will see you next time. Take care.